How's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well, and I hope you are having a great day. And this is Bungle coming at you with today's War Thunder May sale, right? So the May sale, or this is kind of like once, I would say every three times a year in War Thunder. There comes times when they do sales, right? And the sale is usually going to be the May sale, then it's going to be the Thanksgiving sale, and then lastly, there'll be your Christmas/New Year sale. So this is kind of important just because looking at looking at your finances and looking at everything down the road, you kind of plan ahead. Hey, is this a time where I dump a lot of money into War Thunder? Or is this a time where I drop like $30, $20, $10, here and there, right? You want to kind of maximize the amount of money that you're trying to put in to the game. Now, first off, we're going to go and start talking about kind of the May sale and breaking it down and going through that, right? So what is usually these May sales, or, these sales that they have 3 times a year? Well, they're going to go and cover 30% off, usually 30, 40, sometimes 75% off. The percentages vary. Usually it's higher, like for the anniversary sale, but for this year right now, as of the 30th of April 2021, you're going to go and get 30% off vehicles, talismans, modifications, and backup vehicles for the listed nations down below. So this is important, right? Because some of the times in the past as a new player, I kind of made this mistake where you would think, hey, USA, it should be available today, right? No, for whatever reason, Gaijin likes to go and, kind of spreads them out based on dates. So first off, the first one that's going to be available as of this video today, of the 30th of April to May 3rd, you're going to have Germany, Japan, and Italy. So what this means is that any specified vehicles that are as of, I believe, the last 3 updates ago. So it says, and this is kind of important to know too, is that discounts are not applied to vehicles from the Extra Strike update, or squadron vehicles from Battle Pass, Future Technology, and Operation Winter events. So just keep in mind that sometimes some of these vehicles, that like new premium vehicles, new vehicles, tech tree vehicles that just came out in like the last 2 updates, that's usually how it works. You won't be able to go and get kind of those discounts on it, okay? So just keep that in mind. So looking at that, if you're looking at any vehicles in Germany, Japan, or Italy, definitely look at picking some up. My recommendations are kind of like the Hidden Gem series I've done, especially with Japan, the Japanese Corsair. That's a very good buy. Italy, that's another one to look at too. I would recommend the BF-109, the premium version, just because I've had the Germany equivalent of it, and it's Germany and the Italians do get matched up with each other a lot for realistic battles, and just the team composition against allied teams, you will most definitely win. And especially trying to knock out the battle pass, which I'm just wrapping up right now, that's definitely the way you want to go. So for Italy, a good mid-tier grinder, the BF-109 is very, 1, you get really good teams, 2, it's a really good aircraft, and 3, usually the enemies you play against are not really that competent, or just, it's kind of, you'll understand the frustrations with allied teams. They usually like to ground pound a lot. So if you're more interested in just grinding and dogfighting, definitely go with that 109. Japanese Corsair, I already did a video on it, but it's just a really good hidden gem, low tier credit grinder, so definitely look at picking that one up. So from May 3rd to May 6th, you have China, France, and Sweden. Alright, so if you're looking at any vehicles, tanks, planes, ships during that time period that interest you in that nation, definitely look at picking something up, especially a talisman. Now my recommendations, I really haven't touched China nor France or Sweden, right? These are kind of newish tech trees that I haven't really had that much experience playing yet. But usually I would recommend, there really isn't much there just because they're newer, premium, newer tech trees, right? So the premium investments and stuff like that, if you've flown other nations that have similar aircraft like the P-40 for the Chinese tech tree and stuff like that, then look at trying to pick that up. But usually my recommendations, and this is kind of a solid baseline, if you're playing an aircraft that you're trying to grind down a tech tree, right, and it's usually at least 1 below the tech tree you're trying to grind. So let's say you're a tier 3 and you're trying to grind a tier 4, definitely look at trying to go and get that talisman on that aircraft. If you're flying it, you're enjoying it, and you really like it, because then you can grind out a lot of the tier 4 aircraft or tier 4 tanks or ships or whatever if you really like playing that one vehicle, especially in realistic battles. So there's that. I mean, you can use the same thing for tanks and stuff like that too. So just keep that in mind. It's usually my recommendation if you really like playing a vehicle or a lineup and you want to talisman it so you can research the next tier, definitely look at trying to do that. Lastly, May 6th to May 10th, USSR, USA, and Britain. So there's a lot of premiums since these nations have been out for a hot minute. Definitely with the USA, if you get any chance to go and look at getting the XP 50 or XP 55, those things are really overpowered right now, so I would definitely recommend picking one of those up. Same with the USSR. Usually, I mean, there's a lot of aircraft in the tech tree you can put a talisman on. It's pretty solid if you give a good run for your money. My recommendation, same with Britain, you know, those two don't really stand out for me for premiums. I'm like, I just have to get, right? I mean, there is the P-47, which is a very solid aircraft. Definitely would look at recommending picking that up, just because the P-47 is just by default a very good, solid aircraft you could use in any game mode, and it'll do very, very well for you. So just keep that in mind. Now, premium account discounts. So my recommendation with this, if you're kind of reaching your end towards premium, and you do have the money to spare, definitely look at picking up 365 days or a year worth. And the reason why is just because, you know, yes, at the same time, you're not going to be playing, I hope you take a break and don't play War Thunder 24/7, right? Because there's other games out there to play and stuff. But if you go take that, you don't have to worry about coming back to the game, let's say a week or two later or a month later, and be like, oh, I got to renew premium, right? This definitely is like really cheap. I think it's like $50 for a year, so it's definitely a really great deal. Definitely recommend filling up on that, topping off on that when you can. And lastly, Gaijin store discounts. So what they're going to do, and I mean, it depends on how they're going to do it, but historically speaking, they'll try to bundle things together, or they could do it individually. Kind of knowing how Gaijin goes and does their things, it'll probably be bundled up. So they'll probably do a bundle, and they'll probably have like a tank, a high tier tank, or a high tier plane, or a high tier helicopter kind of bundled in, and it's like for each nation, and then you get to go and choose if you want to get one of those or not. So there's that as well. So just keep that in mind that, like, yes, sometimes the store discounts can be individual based on some of their like a tank or a ship or a plane or a high tier vehicle. Usually they're targeted to high tier. Sometimes they do low tier, like, or mid tier, like the AVRE or the T-29 or the IS-6. But just keep in mind that sometimes some of those vehicles are power creeped right now, just because, like I said, this game adds on content. And as content gets added on, a lot of times the stuff that was meta isn't really meta anymore, right? So just keep that in mind. So I wouldn't say, like, keep your expectations kind of low for Gaijin Net store discount, just because historically speaking, unless you put a lot of money in the game or, you know, have a good amount of packs that are in the store, sometimes as a newer player, you may not walk away with a good deal, right? So just keep that in mind. Usually if you put a lot of money in the game or you've bought a lot of packs, then sometimes you can walk away with a good deal when they try to bundle everything up. But that's pretty much it. That's just an overview right now of the May sale on War Thunder. I would just, like I said, recommend look at each of the nations that you're trying to grind, tanks, ships, or planes. I wouldn't recommend putting any money into naval, just because naval is just, it's a very niche community. I've been playing it just for the battle pass, and literally there's such a small amount of players playing it that it's just, one, it's hard to get a match, and two, it's just the mechanics and everything are still really wonky. It's just, I wouldn't invest into it. I put a Prince Eugen pack, I bought that one, and I sold my Baltimore on the marketplace just because it's not worth it. Like, I would just stay away from it. Unless that's your thing, and it's more power to you, but financially speaking or future-proof wise, like, unless Gaijin really reworks the mechanics, like, I don't see this going anywhere. And it's kind of the same like helicopters too. Helicopter game mode is all jacked up as well. So usually a safer investment is tanks and ships. Tanks and planes, just because those two are like the ones Gaijin's really like done well on. So if you're a new player or you've been playing, like, just stick with those two game modes. I would not bother touching ships, and keep in mind with helicopters too, that helicopters are only supplementary to tanks, and even then those are kind of gimmicky too. So other than that, thanks for watching. Hope you all have a great day, and take care.